Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Today we're going to take a look at Alan's Adventureland. When I first saw Alan's Adventureland, I was like, who is Alan? I immediately thought of Alan Moon. This is not different Alan, a different Adventureland. So the first thing that would be very striking, and was very striking to my children too when they saw the box, was a picture of theme parks and adventure parks and these regional parks. And I live in Orlando where you can see Mickey Mouse and Universal. So the idea of building your own theme park is very cool. Many board games have tried to do this, like Steam Park is probably the best one I've played. You got Roller Coaster Tycoon, the board game, and the video game. Planet Coaster is a big one that's out right now. People love building their own theme parks. And this is about where this game kind of crashes and burns. So this is more of an abstract game, which is pictures of theme park put on. It's no surprise that when you look at the history of the game that it didn't start with a theme park theme, and that's fairly obvious once you start playing it. So you'll be adding these rides to your park based on the card play that your opponents will be playing by you, which will give you discounts if you build certain types of parks. So you're going to be placing them on a grid, basically, and you're going to score with more that you have in a row and column. And then you can place on top of it. It's not as 3D as it sounds. You're literally just putting a tile on it, which gives you additional victory points. So this is more about just placing these abstract tiles onto this grid, and it means the score. It doesn't matter if you have 5 roller coasters or 4 wet rides, or you don't need any kind of mixture of that. It's really just about playing them down as cheaply and for as many points as possible. So this game is probably going to hit it better. If you're really looking for a thematic experience, this is not going to be it, but it does have the sheen and the look of a Roller Coaster Tycoon type of game, even though it's not. This is an abstract scoring game with some card play attached to it. So just kind of go into knowing that the theme is not very strong. As for the gameplay itself, it's okay. This isn't a type of game that I'm going to go crazy about or enjoy too much. I think some people are really going to like it, but it's going to be kind of a niche. I think that's why you've seen this one fallen off and not heard a whole lot about it. The publisher itself really didn't publicize this game very much. It's not something that I heard a lot about. Really, if it wasn't for the theme, I wouldn't have purchased it at all. But I kind of got tricked by that, which leaves me another foul taste in my mouth about the game. So, who's going to like this game? Probably, abstract fans, people who just like mechanics or these quirky little mechanics that you can see in a game. But for me, this is going to be a purge. This isn't anything that I'm going to want to play long term. And one day I'm going to say, hey, you might want to take a look at it. It's more gamey than it is thematic. So that's going to play into it also, although I don't find anything that you're doing from the gameplay mechanics-wise as all that interesting anyway. It's just a meh. It's a fun enough game. It's an okay game, but nothing that you'll drive home and want to play over and over again. And for that case, it will be a purge. Here is Alan's Adventureland, which is a theme park, sort of themed. I mean, obviously they threw the theme on here, but it's not a very strong theme to say the least. We'll take a look at the rule book in a few minutes, but you're going to have a scoring board. It's going to be one of those boards that kind of go up and down, up and down. Not my favorite type, but it's colorful, and it looks good on the table. And you have your 100+1 tokens here, so it works fine, I guess. These are going to be the player boards. They're fairly thin. They're not hard cardboard, but it's fine. They just sit on the board. Each of them are double-sided with the bonus or variant that you can play with it. And then the traditional side, each of them just really, it has a little theme on the side, but really what matters is the placement of these are different. So it's a little bit different when you're playing, but the scoring and everything on them are exactly the same. As you can see here, there's a lot of empty room in here. You're going to have some cards. These things are very colorful. I do like the artwork on them, and they're fairly good quality. And the information you need to see on them is very easy to see. Now, these are going to be scoring markers. They are what they are. They're fine. This is going to be the brunt of what you're going to have. You're going to have these big, chunky wooden tiles that are very nice. You do have to sticker them yourself, which I do not like. You do need a little bit better storage situation than this. Otherwise, you're just poking through them trying to find what you want all the time. A custom insert would have been fantastic for this, but you don't get it. But these are very thick, very nice, very wooden. You sticker them yourself, so you may like that, you may not, but there's enough stickers for both sides. Very cool. So for the components, I do like what you get, although it's not a very thematic experience. So here's the rule book. It's a little bit paper thin, and this isn't as bright as some of the other colors in the game. I don't know why it came out a little flat. You can have an overview. This is for 3 or 4 players only. Here's the equipment you're going to have in the game. You're going to have a setup over here for the layout of the game and then how you're going to play. Then you're going to have the final scoring. Not a lot of rules in the game, as you can see. And then if you want to play the bonus card variant, the other side of the board that goes through the rule set here in the final scoring of that. So really there's 2 kind of games in here versus just one, but really it's just a different side of the player board that you'll be utilizing. I'm going to do a quick overview of the game. I don't plan on teaching you every bit of the rules, etc., but I'm going to try to go through a little bit here and just give you an idea of how the game is played. I'm going to start off in a weird way, and I'm going to flip this over and show this is the bonus variant side that you have. That's when you utilize these cards. So instead of having the pre-printed scoring on here, you would utilize these cards in order to score in different little formats that you would have here. Really, that's the only main difference in the game. So I'm going to stick to the basic game, which is this side of the board. So in this game, you'll be playing a round of the game, and then you'll play a bonus round at the end of the game. In a 3-player game, you'll play 4 rounds of the game, 4 bonus rounds. At the end of a 4-player game, you'll play 3 rounds. So 1 less with 4 players. Make the game a little bit shorter, have about the same time frame depending on, because you're going to play the extra round with less players. So the first thing that's going to happen in a round is that cards will be placed out. There will be 2 cards placed per player. So in a 3-player game, 6 cards will be placed out. And these will be coming out of the ride deck. And then the first player can draft a card, second player can draft a card, third player may go, then the third player would go again, second player would go, and then the first player would go, and everybody would end up with 2 cards. Now these 2 cards will be placed in turn order beside different players. So I could have played a card in between player 3 and player 1, or between player 1 and 2 if I'm player 2, or over there. So at the end of the turn, what's going to happen is you'll see a situation like this. Well, between each player, there will be a set of cards. And what these cards will tell me is that if I wanted to play a family card, because there's a family ride card here, I could play one and it will cost me nothing. Or I could play a thrill ride card from my hand and it would cost me nothing. Now, if I wanted to play a card, say Stage Show, and it's not out on the table, then it will cost me 2 points in order to play this. Or if it is out on the table, but not next to me, then it would cost 3. So let's say on my turn, I want to play Blast Off. Then I would discard that card, and I can play Blast Off down to the table. I would pay for the lowest possible value, in this case 0, and I can place it anywhere I want. Now, you'll also be wanting to cover up these colored spots, because at the end of the round, you're going to get points based on if I cover up all the blues, I get 6. If I play blue and yellows, I get 11. If I cover up blue, yellow, and red, I will get 14. So maybe one thing I'd want to do is cover up a red. Now, on an additional turn, if I were to play another Blast Off card, you can see here the next one goes up to 4, so I'll be able to upgrade that tile. So I would take another Blast Off tile and just set it on top of that to showcase the 4. Instead of doing that, if I wanted to play the Family Ride card, I could discard that card, and I could play a Gangplank card down, like so. Then, after everybody's played their 2 cards, you can play a third card, a bonus card. It can be any card you want. These no longer matter, so these can be discarded and done away with. I can play any card I want without penalty. Let's say I wanted to play the Serenade Theater, a stage show. I can just place it without a penalty and place it down on my board. And that would be the 3 cards that I played this round. That would be 1 round of the game. Then we would score. So I'd be able to score each of these vertically. So in this case, I would go 1, 2, 3. So I'd go 1, 2, 3. I would score 3 points for this. Then I would do each one of my rows and then each of my columns. So because my columns are only this, I would score 0 for each of these. Let's say I had built this Blast Off here, then I would have 3 here, and I would score the second row on top of it again, which unfortunately would be a 0. But let's say the game had progressed, and maybe it had looked something like this as the game progressed. So this scoring would be a little bit different. That the columns, let's do that easiest first. I would score 1. Because I have 1 column here, right, with 2, so I'd score 1 point. And I have this one going across with the rapids. And because there's only 1 here, I would score 0. But the bottom one has 1, 2, 3, 4 1, 2, 3, 4. That would give me 6 points. And the second level of this has 1 here and 1 here for 2, which would give me an additional point. So you're not only building across, up, down, but you're building 3-dimensionally also. And don't forget, you're also going to get your layout bonuses. So you play a number of rounds. Every round will be played exactly the same. Whoever has the most points is your winner. Who should buy this game? You're strictly talking about people who want a light abstract game with a little bit of theme just kind of placed on it, but the theme really doesn't matter in this game. What you're looking at here is a little abstract game of trying to get these rides, these tiles in a row, and how you can maximize your score. It's all about maximizing your score more than kind of like building the prettiest theme park or having the giantest coaster or anything like that. Not a whole lot of bonuses for that in the game. It's really about laying the tiles and scoring the most points. So you're really going to want the abstract. I think the theme, the pictures that are put on the tiles, will draw you in a little bit, maybe pique somebody's interest, but I think there are better games in this, I don't want to say genre, but this thematic genre, if you will, than this one that I would like a lot more. And for that reason, I would say purge this one, and I don't know that this is something that I would highly recommend to somebody. I would definitely say try this one before you buy it. The game itself works. It's nice enough. It's quirky. It has a little bit to it, but it's not something I can just say, hey, you need to go out and seek this one out. A purge for me. Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you liked it, please like it and hit that little subscribe button. That really helps out the channel, lets us know that you're getting the videos that you want. If you agreed or disagree with what I said, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I promise that I will comment back. Thanks for watching, and everybody else, keep playing.